First things first, you're going to want to remove the intercooler because it's going to be in our way. 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 3 bolt, 4 bolt, 10 mil bolt to get these off. To undo the hose clamps as well. Those look to be 10 mil. You'll still have something connected on the back. Be careful because it's attached to a vacuum line. So when you pull this up, you'll have to just kind of set it aside, maybe even twist it like that. Now you can see I got the bolt put back into place there, but normally that little vacuum line right there is attached to it. This little hole there is normally attached to this bolt here, so you only have a little bit of room to wiggle with. So you'll be kind of twisting this on that pivot to gain access to that bolt. Once you get this off, make sure to put the bolt back in so you don't lose it. The thing to point out, there's an electrical plug here. I would have had to unplug it when I did this. That would be this wire here. So pull this out of the way for now. So you'll see, like, if you had the batteries here, you still have lots of room here to work with for the glow plugs. You got your glow plugs are right here. You have 4 glow plugs on the 4M40. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the back there. They're all connected by a single power wire here. Connects to a rail, metal rail here. You'll have to loosen the nut off the top here. That's an 8 mil nut. I have it pre-loosened on all these, but once it's loose, you don't have to take them off all the way, just loosen them, and they actually pops right off. So I have new glow plugs to put in today. I was only able to source 1 brand name glow plug for now. The rest are just cheap Amazon ripoffs until the rest come into the mail. I have a back order on a few. We have 4 cheap Amazon ones, 1 actual brand name NGK. The one you're looking for the 4M40 is the CZ256. I'll have these side by side so you can see the difference between these cheap Amazon ones or the other ones. I believe they're the actual ones are ceramic, the cheap ones are metal. You may not have to change all your glow plugs. Some of them may just be totally fine already. The way to go about testing them on this vehicle, they should be reading maybe 0.8 to 1.5 ohms is a good reading on these. When you're testing these, you can't test it with this terminal on, because if you're testing it with this terminal on, it's testing the resistance through all 4 of these at once. You need to you need to take this off to test. So to test them, set your ohm meter to ohms. Let's see if I can hang this somewhere you can see it. Okay, so just gonna touch the top of or the side, and then the negative lead on your ground for your vehicle. In the corner here, it's hard to see on the phone, but it's either got an M or a K. That's mega ohms or kilo ohms. This one was reading in the kilo ohms. Yeah, let's see, 3.57 kilo ohms. That's way above what we need. This one's, well, briefly was 19 mega ohms, and then it's gone. Yeah, mega ohms are pretty big, so it's probably exceeding the how far my tool can test. Let's go back to the first one. Yeah, this is 1.88 mega ohms. All right, now just for reference, we'll grab one of the let's grab the NGK first, just to show you what the real one's supposed to show. When you're testing with, you just connect it to the top post here with the nut, and then connect it to the test lead here. Not on the element, don't touch the element, but the right beside the element. This will be the part that's socketed into the head of the engine. 1.1 ohms. There's no K, there's no M, just 1.1 ohms. If you're worried that it might be a knockoff in the original packaging as well, like there is the model number NGK 11 volt CZ256 stamped into the bottom here. Just the Amazon ones. 1.4, 1.3, say 1.3 and a half. That's close enough to spec. Again, they're different material, like this is a metal tip instead of a ceramic tip. Based on reviews, it doesn't seem like they last very long, but it should get us by in a pinch. Probably not going to be running this much until the actual NGK plugs come in. They'll be swapping them out to the right ones and just keeping these as emergency spares in my glove box. I'm just going to install the Amazon ones today, and then I'll come back and revisit. I have 4 NGKs coming in the mail. This NGK down here is going to be my spare later. On the Delica L400 with the 4M40, we're actually pretty lucky with this one. We don't need any special glow plug sockets like with the elbows or anything like that. You can just use a 12mm long socket. I don't bother torquing it, I'm just going to go by feel. Could use an extension on this actually, might make it a little easier to work around. It's not actually hard to get these out, I'm just trying not to bump my phone and knock it down while I'm doing it. Microfiber towel here. I'm just gonna thread that back in a bit just to keep the threads clean before I wipe around it. Don't want to get any debris into the socket, into the hole. Some people use anti-seize or lubricant when they're putting these in. I don't recommend it just because the torque specs for these are for dry threads, and the part that gets stuck on these isn't the threads to begin with. Here is the part that actually sits into the head of the motor, and this piece sometimes can get sealed in by sediment. The threads themselves never usually are the part that gets stuck, and you don't want to risk over tightening it on an aluminum head with steel. If something's going to break, it's not going to be the threads on the glow plug, it's going to be the threads on your engine block, and you don't want that. That's going to be very expensive to fix. Some people might be tempted to put anti-seize or something on the part that could potentially get stuck here. You could if you're really careful, but at the same time you risk burning out the element if it were to contact that. Yeah, you don't want to get any contamination on the element. I'm gonna show them side by side before I put the new one in. And these Amazon ones are slightly different than the EduK, but still correct, different design choice. Looks like these ones are okay. Maybe it's pointless for me to compare because these ones seem to be cheap Amazon ones already. It's probably why they're burnt out to begin with. It's a metal tip, just like the other ones. It's not a small ceramic tip. Let me get a measurement caliper and just check that these are the same bore. 8.4. The real one's 8.4. Okay. The ones I picked up from Amazon are the correct spec. Always second guess yourself. Always measure twice, cut once. Proceed. That's what we're dealing with there. Point at which it gets narrow. That's where the base of this stops. So that's actually what we're threading up against. Now when you're putting these in, you want to be really careful just not to contaminate them, so don't touch them into like grease or something on the side of the engine. So just be a steady hand when you're doing it. Generally the threads inside there should be clean, so if you were to touch the threads on the side, I don't think it's a big deal. Just you're probably not going to contaminate it by touching the threads on the side, unless somebody was using anti-seize or anything in there. Then maybe you could contaminate it by using the threads. Another reason not to use those products for your glow plugs, in my opinion. So, finger tight. Another burnt out one. Another crispy one. I'm going to use this arm though. crispy one. They're all crispy. None of these really worked. Turning this thing on was a pain even on a warm day. Alright, now we snug it up. Yeah, don't over tighten these things. Like they need to be snug, but if it feels like it's hitting rock bottom, just stop. Or if it suddenly gives a lot more resistance than it did a moment ago, take that as the cue, because you don't want to strip the thread. Okay, that's good enough. Yeah, you can see there's a lot of room to turn your wrench. It's just watch out for those injector lines, that's all. Okay, I'm going to start with the far one just because that's the hardest one to reach. And, oh, well, look at that. Super easy. And these are 8mm. That seems snug. Okay. Well, at this point, you could put the intercooler back on and then connect a battery and test her out. This actually has to come back out for me to put the batteries back in, so, or at least be movable. I'm just going to leave it so that I can move it. Okay, well, yeah, that's glow plug's done.